Imagine climbing out of the depths of despair, where debts and frustrations consume your days, to a life filled with opportunities and achievements. This is the story of Robert, an ordinary man who discovered a powerful secret to transform his reality. Get ready for a journey full of challenges, triumphs, and twists that will move and inspire you. You won't believe the surprising outcome of this transformation. Before we begin, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more incredible stories that can change the way you see life. Now, let's discover together how Robert turned his life around. On that cold December morning, I stared at the bank statement on my phone screen, negative $238.45. The negative number seemed to mock me. Sitting at the small table in my kitchen, surrounded by piles of overdue bills and collection notices, I felt completely lost. "Robert, you need to sign these forms before your shift," said my coworker Pete, passing through the back door of the warehouse where we worked. "And the supervisor is looking for you. Something about weekend overtime." I sighed deeply, grabbing the pen with tired fingers. Another 12-hour day ahead, the deafening noise of the forklifts already echoing in my head before it even began. 8 years in that warehouse, and what did I have to show for it? A rented apartment I could barely afford, a car that constantly broke down, and debts that kept piling up. "You don't look well today," commented Sarah, the receptionist, when I walked past the employee entrance. She had always been kind to me, one of the few people who still asked how I was doing. "I'm fine," I lied, forcing a smile. "Just didn't sleep well." The truth? I hadn't slept well in months. Financial worries consumed me. Each new bill felt like an extra weight on my shoulders. Each call from the bank made my heart race. During my lunch break, sitting alone in the noisy cafeteria, I opened the letter I had been avoiding since morning. My hands trembled as I tore open the envelope. Final eviction notice, 30-day deadline. The sandwich I had brought from home remained untouched. My stomach churned. How did I get to this point? At 38, I should have my life together, right? At least that's what everyone said. "Robert, the afternoon shift is starting," Pete interrupted my thoughts. "Are you coming?" "Yeah, just a minute," I replied, crumpling the notice and stuffing it in my uniform pocket. That afternoon, as I operated the heavy machinery, moving endless boxes back and forth, I wondered if this would be my life forever. The metallic sound of the forklifts, the smell of dust and cardboard, the back pain that never went away. "Hey, are you working overtime today?" my supervisor asked at the end of the shift. "I have to," I replied, with no choice. "Put me on the schedule." It was just another dragging day, a few more hours trying to scrape together enough money to survive until the next paycheck. Looking at the others leaving work, going home to their families, I felt more alone and lost. Have you ever felt like this? Like you were stuck in an endless cycle where every day is a struggle to keep your head above water? I was sinking, and the worst part, I saw no light at the end of the tunnel. After yet another exhausting double shift, I lay on my worn-out couch, aimlessly scrolling through my phone. It was my escape, even if temporary, from the suffocating reality. That's when a video popped up in my feed, how I manifested $50,000 in 30 days using the law of attraction. Normally, I would ignore this type of content. It seemed like just another one of those empty promises from the internet. But something in the presenter's sincere gaze made me pause. "Money is just energy," he said. "And energy flows where we place our attention." What nonsense, I muttered to myself, but I kept watching. The next morning, during my coffee break at work, Sarah noticed I was different. "Robert, you look thoughtful today," she commented, pouring coffee into her cup. "Do you believe in this law of attraction thing?" I asked, feeling a bit silly. "Actually, I do," she replied, to my surprise. "My sister completely changed her life after she started practicing." "Why?" "I saw a video last night, it seems too good to be true." "You know that used bookstore on 5th Street?" Sarah suggested. "They have an entire section on it. You should check it out." After work, even though I was exhausted, I decided to stop by the bookstore. The doorbell rang as I entered, and the smell of old books enveloped me. An elderly lady smiled from behind the counter. "Can I help you?" I'm looking for something on the law of attraction," I said, still feeling strange. "Third shelf to the right," she replied, as if it were the most natural request in the world. That's when I saw it, a thin book, faded blue cover, just $2. Manifesting Abundance, a practical guide. I flipped through the yellowed pages, and one phrase jumped out at me: "Your thoughts are seeds. What you plant today, you will harvest tomorrow." Those words stirred something in me in a way I couldn't explain. I paid for the book, and on the bus ride home, I devoured the first pages. "You look like you found treasure," the driver said when I got off at my stop. Little did he know that I might have actually found it. That night, for the first time in a long time, I felt something different: hope. It was as if a door had opened, revealing a path I had never considered before. Of course, the skeptical part of my brain still questioned everything. But there was something in those words, in that concept, that resonated deeply within me. What if, I thought, lying in bed that night, what if this really works? I am prosperous. Money flows easily to me, I repeated in front of the bathroom mirror, feeling completely ridiculous. My reflection seemed to laugh at my pathetic attempt at change. "Who are you trying to fool?" I murmured to myself as my phone buzzed with yet another bank notification. That morning, Pete found me in the break room, noticing the book sticking out of my backpack. Law of Attraction? Seriously, Robert? He laughed. Do you really believe in that nonsense? I don't know, maybe, I replied, quickly stashing the book away. Dude, if it were that easy, everyone would be rich, Pete continued. The real world doesn't work that way. His words echoed throughout my shift. While operating the forklift, a call from the bank completed my despair. Mr. Robert, your card is blocked due to non-payment. We need to resolve this situation immediately. I'll take care of it, I stammered, hanging up the phone with trembling hands. During lunch, I tried to do the exercises from the book. I closed my eyes, visualizing abundance, as the instructions said. But all I could see were overdue bills. Sarah found me in the break room, noticing my gloom. How's it going with your reading? She asked gently. Honestly? I feel like an idiot, I confessed. How can I manifest money when I can barely pay my bills? This all feels like a huge waste of time. You know what my sister always says? Sarah replied. The biggest resistance comes when we're close to a change. Or when we're completely fooling ourselves, I shot back. That night, sitting in my small room, I looked at the notebook where I had started writing my affirmations. Every word felt like a lie. My cold, empty apartment mocked my attempts to visualize abundance. The sound of rain against the window mingled with my pessimistic thoughts. I picked up the book, ready to throw it in the trash, when my phone rang again, another collector. This is ridiculous, I thought. How can a few words written on paper change my reality? Doubts consumed me. It was easier to accept my current reality than to believe in impossible changes. After all, people like me didn't get those kinds of miracles, right? The book sat abandoned on the coffee table for days. Every time I looked at it, I felt a mix of shame and frustration. Was I really wasting my time on fantasies when I should be looking for a second job? It was a rainy Thursday when everything changed. I was on the subway, listening to a random podcast to pass the time, when a soft, firm voice caught my attention. The secret isn't in asking the universe. It's in aligning your actions with your thoughts, the voice said. I call this the 3-paper technique. I turned up the volume. The host, a former executive named Diana Miller, continued, take 3 sheets of paper. On the first, write your current reality. On the second, your goals. On the third, write as if you are already living that reality. Something about that simple explanation made more sense than all my previous attempts. At work, Sarah noticed I was different. You're writing something on your phone all the time, she commented during the break. I'm trying something new, I explained. A technique I heard on a podcast. Tell me more, she said, pulling up a chair. As I explained, I began to understand the process better. It's like creating a map, I said, excited. Not just of what I want, but of how I'm going to get there. That night, I sat at my desk with 3 blank sheets. On the first, I wrote the raw truth. I owe $15,000 in credit cards. I work 60 hours a week. I can barely pay the rent. It was painful but liberating to see everything on paper. On the second sheet, I listed my goals: pay off all debts, have $10,000 in savings, work in something I love. The third sheet was different. Diana had explained, write as if you are already living that moment. I took a deep breath and began. Today I woke up without financial worries. I opened my banking app and smiled at my positive balance. It's amazing how opportunities arise when we're prepared. But don't stop there, Diana's voice echoed in the podcast. You need to feel every word. Visualize the details. I closed my eyes and allowed myself to really see the smile while checking my account, the feeling of lightness when paying all bills on time, the joy of helping someone in need. The trick is to do this every day, she explained. Not as a task, but as a moment of connection with your future. For the first time, it didn't feel like a silly fantasy. It was a plan, a detailed map of my path. Every day, I dedicated 30 minutes to writing on the third sheet, updating my new reality with more details. And something began to change, not outside, but within me. It was as if every written word was a brick in the construction of a new mindset. The changes started subtly, almost imperceptibly. First, I noticed I was sleeping better, no more waking up in the middle of the night worried about bills. My daily writing had become a sacred ritual, like breakfast for my mind. You look different, Pete observed during our shift. Lighter. I feel different, I replied, realizing it was true. That's when the first real manifestation happened. During my lunch break, I received a notification. Your reimbursement request has been approved. It was an amount I had completely forgotten, $478 from a previous health plan. My hands shook as I saw the amount. This can't be a coincidence, I whispered to myself. Sarah was passing by and noticed my expression. What happened? You look pale. Remember when I started that technique with the 3 sheets of paper? Well, today. As I spoke, she smiled. See? This is how it starts. Small victories that show you're on the right path. The following week, my supervisor called me. Robert, we need someone to lead the night shift. There's a 15% bonus. Before, would have hesitated. Work at night? But something inside me had changed. I'm in, I replied without thinking twice. At home, I updated my third sheet. every day brings new opportunities for growth. Money flows to me in unexpected and welcome ways. And it really flowed. An old client from my freelance design work, which I did in my spare time, reached out, "Robert, I need an urgent project. I can pay double your normal rate." By the end of the month, I looked at my finance spreadsheet. For the first time in years, I had money left over. Not much, $320, but it was a start. The universe responds to action aligned with intention, Diana said on the podcast. Now I understood what that meant. One Sunday morning, I received a message from Sarah. "Hey, you won't believe it. Remember that financial management course I mentioned? They're offering scholarships. I submitted your name." "Why did you do that?" I asked, surprised. "Because you're ready," she replied. "You've changed. Everyone notices." That night, while rereading my 3 sheets, I realized they were not just words on paper. They were seeds I had planted, and now they were starting to sprout. "Every small victory is a sign," I wrote in my journal. "They're not coincidences. They're confirmations." The most amazing part wasn't the extra money or the opportunities. It was how I felt different inside. More confident. More capable. As if I had discovered a muscle I never knew existed, and now I was learning to use it. I'll never forget that Tuesday in October. I was reviewing my monthly numbers and noticed something impressive. In 6 months, I had saved $5,000. "Impossible," I murmured, checking the spreadsheet multiple times. My phone rang. It was an email from the financial management course. "Congratulations. You have been selected for a full scholarship." My hands were shaking. At that moment, my supervisor knocked on the office door. "Robert, can we talk?" My heart raced. He sat down, serious. "The company is restructuring the digital marketing department. We need someone who understands logistics and design." I swallowed hard, remembering the freelance projects I had done. "I'm listening. We want you in this position. $75,000 a year, plus benefits." The air was stuck in my lungs. It was more than double my current salary. I don't know what to say," I stammered. "Say yes," he smiled. "We've seen your freelance work. You have talent." I left the meeting in a daze. In the hallway, Sarah was waiting for me. "So?" When I told her, she jumped for joy. See? It wasn't manifestation, it was preparation." That night, I sat down with my 3 sheets of paper. The first one, which listed my debts, now had several items crossed off. The second, with my goals, needed to be updated. Some had already been achieved. But it was the 3rd sheet that made me cry. There it was, written 3 months earlier. "I work in something I love, using my design and logistics skills." I picked up my phone and opened Diana's podcast. I needed to hear that first episode again. Her voice sounded different now. Manifestation is not magic. It's alignment. It's preparation meeting opportunity. With trembling hands, I wrote on my 3rd sheet, "Today I understood that the true transformation was not in my bank balance. It was in my mind, in my courage to believe and act." Pete found me the next day. "So you really are going into marketing? Who would have thought that silly book worked, huh?" I smiled, recalling his skeptical words months ago. "It wasn't the book, Pete. It was the decision to change. To believe. To act differently." "And now?" he asked. I looked at my new desk, at the contract in my hands, at the email from the course. Now? Now it's just the beginning. because for the first time in my life, I know exactly where I want to go. And more importantly, I know I can get there. Today, sitting in my new office, I pick up those 3 sheets of paper. They are crumpled, marked by time, but they carry a story of transformation that still moves me. Sarah comes in with 2 cups of coffee. Feeling nostalgic today? She smiles, recognizing the papers. You know what's crazier? I reply. It's not about the money. It never was. What do you mean? Look at this. I show her my latest bank statement. $25,000 in savings, all debts paid off. But do you know what makes me happiest? Being able to help others. I tell her about Mike, the intern I hired last week. He reminds me so much of myself, a year ago. And what did you tell him? Sarah asks, curious. The same thing I learned, that financial transformation starts in the mind. Yesterday, I gave him 3 blank sheets of paper. We laughed together, remembering how it all started. Pete walks by the door. Hey, manifester. The financial mentoring group is waiting. Yes, now I coordinate a weekly financial guidance group for employees. Who would have thought? Before you go, Sarah stops me. Remember when you thought it was impossible? I grab my folder and reply, every day I thank myself for being wrong. In the mentoring group, I look at the anxious faces in front of me. I see in them the same fear, the same disbelief I once had. Let me tell you a story, I begin. About someone who owed $15,000 in credit cards. As I speak, I see eyes widening, heads nodding. A girl in the back raises her hand. But how did you really change? I started believing it was possible. Not overnight. It was a process. Every small victory built the next one. At the end of the session, a young guy approaches me. Do you really think I can? I take a blank sheet from my folder, start writing. 1 word at a time. 1 day at a time. At night, I update my 3rd sheet, now in a new notebook. Today I helped someone take their first step. True wealth lies in being able to multiply hope. I look out the office window, thinking about how much has changed. It's not just the numbers in the account, the new position, or the car in the garage. It's something deeper. I grab my phone and send a message to Diana, the woman from the podcast. Thank you for that episode. It changed my life. Now I'm changing the lives of others. Her reply comes in seconds. The most powerful manifestation is when our transformation inspires others to change as well. I keep the 3 original sheets in a special folder. They are more than just paper now. They are a reminder that everything starts with a choice, a thought, a word written on paper. If this inspiring story motivated you to believe in the power of change, please like it and share your thoughts in the comments. We want to know, what will be the first step you'll take to transform your life? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell for more stories that will change the way you face your challenges. Together, we can build a community of people who believe in the impossible. Until the next video.